Welcome back to the deep dive. You know the drill. We take a whole stack of sources, cut through the noise, and pull out those key insights so you're quickly up to speed. Today, we're diving into the life and recent passing of Judge Frank Caprio, U.S. celebrity judge, social media star. Quite the figure. We've got tributes, excerpts, sources that help us understand the phenomenon, really. The man known as the nicest judge in the world. What a reputation.
It really is.
Yeah.
And his career spanned 40 years in Rhode Island. What set him apart was this, well, unique approach. He really focused on compassion, used humor too, and always tried to look at the personal circumstances, not just the strict letter of the law.
Right, and that approach, which was, very local for a long time, it just exploded globally. That TV show, Caught in Providence, those clips got billions of views online. Suddenly, he wasn't just a Rhode Island judge anymore.
Billions, yeah. It cemented that global reputation.
So, okay, let's unpack this. What exactly was it about his courtroom? What made it so captivating that it resonated with so many millions of people?
Well, I think it was more than just novelty. His actual style in court, that's what created those viral clips. You'd see things like him inviting kids up to the bench, letting them sit with him while he heard a case.
Oh, I remember seeing that. Like mini judges for a moment.
Exactly. And it wasn't just for laughs, although it was often charming. It was about humanizing everything, showing empathy where maybe people don't expect it in court.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it wasn't just contained in the courtroom, right? His social media felt very similar. I saw this one TikTok video. It was just his morning routine, brushing his teeth, signing his book, even watching clips of his own show. And that got, over 5 million views? Just that simple, everyday stuff.
Yeah.
It showed the person behind the gown, didn't it?
It absolutely did. And his official Instagram, that account had 3.4 million followers. The statement they put out after he passed, it talked about his warmth, his unwavering belief in the goodness of people, and importantly, the countless acts of kindness he inspired. It shows his online self was genuinely him. That's why it connected, I think.
So putting it all together, he wasn't just a judge. He became something more like a cultural figure, almost a symbol. What does that tell us about his appeal? And maybe, what people are looking for in public life now?
That's a really interesting point. Judge Caprio actually talked about this himself back in a 2019 interview. He said his court showed a slice of life of Rhode Island that is very interesting, but crucially, it reflects the same issues people are experiencing nationwide. He knew those local stories, a parking ticket, a small fine. They weren't just local. They tapped into universal struggles, everyday life.
Right. That's where it gets really powerful, isn't it? Beyond the funny clips or the heartwarming moments, his work tapped into something universal about the human condition. People saw themselves or their neighbors, their family.
Yeah, dealing with the system, making mistakes, just trying to get by.
It says so much about shared experiences.
And this impact wasn't just online buzz. It got real formal recognition, too. Caught in Providence, the show, got nominated for 3 daytime Emmys. And Judge Caprio himself, he got 2 individual nominations just last year.
Wow, for a court show focused on compassion, that's significant.
It really is. It shows the quality and the broad appeal weren't just imagined.
Even the company behind the show, Debmar Mercury, their tribute mentioned his unique brand of compassion and common sense approach.
That phrase captures it perfectly. Common sense and compassion, not always the first things you associate with legal proceedings, maybe.
No, perhaps not.
And that's the message his son, David Caprio, really emphasized, too. He thanked the fans, of course, but then he urged people to, quote, spread a little kindness in his father's memory. Simple message, but it really gets to the heart of his father's legacy.
Yeah, it does. Now, shifting focus a bit. Towards the end of his life, he faced a really tough personal battle. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2023. And he said publicly at the time that he was fully prepared to fight as hard as I can, showed real resolve.
Yes, and he was very open about it. One of his last social media posts, he shared that he was back in hospital, said he'd had a setback in his treatment, and just straightforwardly asked his followers for prayers. That vulnerability, that ongoing connection with his audience, right up to the end. It was quite remarkable.
And his family was clearly central. He's survived by his wife, Joyce. They were married nearly 60 years.
60 years, wow.
Or 5 children, 7 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. You get the sense that public compassion was rooted in a strong family life.
I think that's very likely true. So if you pull all these threads together, what's the legacy? It's really about a judge who consistently, intentionally brought humanity and empathy into the courtroom. prioritizing individual circumstances, simple kindness, and that resonated globally. It was perhaps a contrast people were hungry for.
Yeah, a contrast to maybe more impersonal systems. He showed you could uphold the law and see the person standing in front of you.
Precisely.
So to sum up our deep dive, Judge Frank Caprio had this really amazing ability, didn't he? Taking routine court cases and turning them into these viral moments. Moments of compassion, human connection. Moments that really left a mark on millions worldwide.
Which does leave us with a question, doesn't it? In a world that often feels quite rigid, maybe impersonal, sometimes divided, what does Judge Caprio's legacy really teach us about the power of just individual warmth, of kindness, of common sense? How much can that foster community and understanding?
That's definitely something to reflect on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Judge Frank Caprio's life and impact. We hope you'll continue exploring these fascinating intersections of human nature and public life.